Hello. So I'm making this video because a lot of you guys don't really understand the concept of importing and like choosing good variable names. So let's go over the importing part first. So usually if you want to import a file, um, you're going to be importing it from a file that contains like the functions essentially. So for example, if we have this function here, let's just call it add1. And all it does is it just takes in a value which is like an integer or like a float. We'll call it x here, and then it'll just return x, added 1 to it. That's why the function is called add1. So one thing here is you guys don't really understand that there's 2 to 3 different ways of testing, and we accept all 2 or 3. You can decide to write your test here in the examples portion, like this, and then, you have this part add 1, and then let's say you put 5 here, then the expected result should be, 6. Same thing, if you have 7.6, then it should be 8.6. And, if you have like a negative number, and then it should result in negative 6.6. You want to make sure that you're testing thoroughly, like you're testing every single possible test case. So here, the one test case that I'm missing is, I already have the positive value case, the negative value case. Now maybe I should try a 0 case. So if I put 0, it should just be 1. And that should be every single case, and that's what you guys should be testing for. We say a minimum of 3, but if 3 is not enough to test every single possible case, you guys should be testing uh, you know, a- as many test cases as you need to test every single possible case. Um, and here you need this line right here, and this line right here just says, if you're running this file directly, then um, run some code, whatever's under here, and you need the doc testing essentially. Because if you don't have this doc testing, it won't run your tests correctly. At least I think that's this is the way that you write the doc testing. Let me just check just to make sure. Um, import doc test dot test mod. Okay, import doc test dot test mod. Yeah, so you need these 2 lines, otherwise it won't run the examples that are in your test case or the ones that are in your function doc strings. So make sure you guys have function doc strings. Make sure you guys also have module doc strings, like your name part, you know, whatever your section is, whatever, this is like functions.py, and then like a description of what this file is. And then once you have this is just your functions file. You're not running it, or like when you run this, you're just testing it essentially. You're not really using the functions. When you import the functions, maybe let's say we have something called funcs_test.py. If you're going to import using this style, where I say import funcs to import the funcs.py, then you must do funcs dot to before you use whatever the function is, because this is the function. If you decide to import it this way, you must do it this way. This is why when you guys used turtle for lab, I think it was 4 or 5, you guys needed to do this to create a turtle. Turtle or turtle.turtle. What this means is this is a turtle class within the turtle module. This is the add1 function within my funcs module. And that's you creating an instance of a turtle from the turtle module and naming it as Bob. So Bob is an instance of a turtle class. And one thing that I've noticed that a lot of people were tripping up on is that when they had when they were doing like the draw circle thing, and they took in a turtle, they said the name was turtle. like for their argument, which is not the right way to be doing this because you already had a module named turtle. If you have a turtle here, this turtle overrides um, this turtle variable name. It's like there's already a function called max. That's why it's highlighted blue here. If you said, a is equal to max of 1 and 2, then a is 2. But then if you just said max is equal to, the string potato, then you've literally gotten rid of this function max and you can no longer use it. You can no longer say this right here because max is a string now and not a function anymore. So you need to choose good function names. You don't want to choose things that are already exist, as function like pre-built function names like max, or things like turtle that you imported. So turtle refers to the turtle module. Thus, you shouldn't use turtle as your argument name. You should use something else like, I don't know, TTLE or something like that. Even something like that, or even just turt is good. That's general enough, but doesn't override this turtle module. Um, and then for your circle, you shouldn't do circle also because when you guys did, you know, import circle, this circle right here is gonna be overwritten. This circle right here is gonna be overwritten by this circle now. So this should either be like circle, I don't know, underscore. That's fine, or you could just say circ, something like that, so that you don't override this imported module. So that when you say like my circle one equals circle dot circle of point of 5 to, let's say, I don't know, 3 or something like that. Now that you have this circle, you can, when you pass it in the if name equals main part, it doesn't throw an error because you here, let me move everything, let me reorganize everything. The reason why you want to have it like this is because now when you do draw circle, let's say circle had some code in here, you can pass in Bob and my circle one, and here you can actually access them. But here you're not going to say bob.draw or like bob.pen down. Bob doesn't exist inside of this function definition. Bob exists here in the outer scope of the function definition. Turt is the one that exists here. Here, when you're using draw circle, you're passing in Bob as the general turt argument here. So just by saying turt.pen down, that's almost like saying bob.pen down because Bob is the one that you're using for this function call of draw circle. Bob is that turtle that you're passing in. Thus, you're not going to say bob.pen down, you're going to say turt.pen down. That's the difference between, understanding like function arguments and like instances of like a class or like a variable. When you're passing in the variable name, you're just passing in the variable name. It doesn't pass through to the actual function definition. The function definition just takes it as a general, whatever the argument name is here. It doesn't get Bob, it gets turt, and turt is Bob in this function call. That's what this is saying. A lot of you guys were not really understanding that, and it caused a lot of issues when you guys are trying to run your draw circle essentially. Um, One other thing is if you guys aren't testing using this example thing, you guys should be testing using asserts. So if you don't like testing using the doc test, it's fine. Just write asserts instead. Just import the funcs. Um, and then I don't know, assert funcs. We'll just use these same test cases essentially. I will just use these same test cases. Uh, okay, so you grab these test cases. Imagine if I didn't have them, but you're just gonna do this. You're just gonna assert all of them, and here it'll be funcs dot because you need to make sure that you use the funcs dot because you're importing it this way. I'll show you how to import it a different way in a bit, but um, and then you just need to assert that this is 6. You know, this should be 8.6. This should be -6.6, and this should be 1. And then when you run your test case, it will import the funcs, which gives you access to the definition of add1, and then it's gonna run these asserts. So this is the other way that you should be testing if you don't like testing it this way. You should be testing it this way instead, with a separate file with the underscore tests part. A different way to import is to say from the file funcs, you're going to import star, which means it's just going to import all the functions from funcs. Thus, you can say assert and then just literally say add1 without needing the funcs dot part, because you're saying from the funcs module import everything. So you imported everything from funcs, thus you don't need funcs anymore, essentially. That's kind of the testing part and the classes part. Um, Also, um, the what was the other part? It also included the function like variable name parts, like knowing how to choose good argument names, also good variable names too. So don't choose things like x. That's not good either. Yeah, I don't know. Even here, maybe you can just call this num, right? That would be a way better like variable name, because num isn't a built-in like Python thing like max is. Uh, you should also not use things like sum. That's why whenever I saw you guys use sum, I said don't use sum. Maybe sum underscore would be a good one, because that's not a built-in one. If you use sum, that's the built-in one that removes this sum function. So that's why you don't want to use that as a variable name. But yeah, that's pretty much it.